Has anyone ever told you that once you get older, you should tell your kids everything? That being open, honest, and transparent is the best way to keep your family close? Well, I'm here to tell you that's not always true. In fact, if you're over 65, there's one secret you might want to keep from your kids, because revealing it could change your relationship forever. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why some things are better left unsaid, and how keeping this one thing to yourself might actually be the best thing you ever do. Let's get into it. The hard truth about aging and family. First, let's talk about something that happens to almost everyone as they get older. You start feeling like you're becoming a burden, not because anyone says it outright. No one sits you down and tells you, "Hey, you're getting old, and we don't have time for you." Of course not. It's more subtle than that. It starts small. At first, your kids are still calling regularly. They still make time for visits, still ask how you're doing, still include you in plans. But then, slowly things start to shift. They call less often. Maybe they used to check in every few days. Now it's once a week, then once a month. And eventually, it gets to the point where you're the one always reaching out. You tell yourself they're just busy. And sure they are. Life is fast-paced. Jobs, kids, errands, responsibilities, all adds up. But you can't help but notice. The calls that once lasted an hour now barely stretch past 10 minutes. And the visits, at first, they drop by and stay for hours. You'd cook together, laugh, catch up. But now, when they do visit, they rush in, rush out. They sit with you, but they're distracted, checking their phones, answering emails, making vague excuses about why they can't stay long. "We gotta run, Mom, but we'll see you soon." "I'll call you later, Dad. I promise." And sometimes they forget to call back. At first, you don't want to believe it. You make excuses for them. They don't mean anything by it. They love me. They're just busy. But deep down, something stings. Because you know that if they really wanted to, they'd make time. And then it happens. That moment when you need help with something small. Something you would have handled easily just a few years ago. Maybe you're carrying groceries in from the car, and one bag feels heavier than you expected. Maybe you're fixing something around the house, and realize you could use an extra hand. Or maybe you're just trying to figure out why your phone isn't working the way it should. You ask for a little help, not thinking much of it, and suddenly you see it, that look in their eyes. Not frustration, not annoyance, but pity, and then come the words, "Mom, just let me handle it." "Dad, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." At first, it seems nice. They're helping, right? But over time, something shifts. They're not just helping, they're taking over. They start making decisions for you. You used to choose what to eat. Now they're telling you what's best for you. You used to handle your bills. Now they're insisting they should manage them, so you don't have to stress. You mentioned feeling tired, and suddenly they're looking up assisted living facilities. And before you know it, you start losing control over your own life. They mean well. They think they're protecting you. But what they don't realize is that the more they take over, the more invisible you start to feel. Which brings me to the secret you should never tell your kids. The one secret you should keep to yourself. Never, never tell your kids that you feel like you're becoming a burden. I know that might sound harsh. You've raised them, sacrificed them, put their needs before your own for years. Shouldn't you be able to be honest with them? Shouldn't they understand how you feel? In an ideal world, yes. In a world where people have endless patience, perfect emotional intelligence, and always know the right thing to say, sure, opening up about your feelings would bring you closer. But in reality, telling them this could do more harm than good. Here's why. The moment you say it out loud, the moment you admit to your kids, "I feel like I'm becoming a burden," everything changes. At first, they'll rush to reassure you. "No, Mom, don't be silly. You're not a burden." "Dad, we love helping you. Don't think like that." But after that conversation ends, something shifts in their minds. Now, every time they visit, every time they help you with something, they're thinking about it. Are they feeling like a burden right now? Am I making them feel worse? Should I step in more? Should I step back? And instead of your relationship being natural, it becomes strained. Because now they're not just thinking about helping you. They're watching themselves. They might visit less because they don't want you to feel like they're hovering. They might avoid offering help because they don't want to make you feel incapable. They might overcompensate, taking control of things you never needed help with in the first place. Either way, the relationship shifts. And once that shift happens, it's almost impossible to undo, because now you're not just their parent. You're someone they have to manage. And that's exactly why this is a secret you should keep to yourself. What happens when you admit you feel like a burden? The moment you tell your kids you feel like a burden, something changes. At first, they'll rush to reassure you. No, Mom, don't be silly. You're not a burden at all. Dad, we love helping you. Don't think like that. They'll say all the right things. They'll insist that nothing is different, that they do anything for you because you're family, because they love you, and they mean it. But deep down, a new dynamic is forming, because now they don't just see you as their parent. Now, they see you as someone who needs to be taken care of. And that shift, that's what takes away your power. The subtle ways this changes your relationship. It starts small, almost imperceptible at first. Maybe next time you ask for help with something minor, carrying groceries, fixing a light bulb, understanding a new app on your phone, they hesitate before answering, not because they're annoyed, but because now they're watching you, analyzing, assessing, wondering if you're declining. Maybe they start checking in a little too often. Are you feeling okay today, Mom? Dad, do you need anything? Are you sure? It seems innocent, but what they're really saying is, I heard what you said. Now I'm worried about you. And once that worry sets in, everything changes. They stop seeing you as a strong, independent person you've always been. They start making assumptions about what you need without asking. You used to make your own decisions. Now they're deciding for you. They book appointments for you without asking. They tell you what's best for you instead of letting you decide. They start bringing up topics you never even considered, like downsizing, hiring help, or assisted living. And the worst part? They think they're doing it out of love. How this leads to losing control. At first, it's just small decisions. They stop asking if you want help and just start helping. They step in before you even get a chance to figure things out on your own. They assume you can't do things anymore instead of waiting to see if you even need assistance. And slowly, decision by decision, you start to lose control over your own life. One day, you're managing just fine. The next, you look around and realize you're not making your own choices anymore. You're being handled. And once your kids start treating you like someone who needs to be taken care of, it's almost impossible to reverse. Because now, everything you do is filtered through their concern. You want to take a road trip? Are you sure that's safe? Maybe I should come with you. You want to do a little yard work? You shouldn't be doing that, Mom. I'll send someone over. Dad, why don't you just hire someone to handle that? You want to make a financial decision? I don't think you should be handling that on your own anymore. Maybe I should help manage your money so you don't have to worry about it. And the worst part? They're not trying to control you. They're trying to protect you. But the end result is the same. They stop seeing you as capable. And the more they take over, the less they let you decide for yourself. The hardest part? You can't undo it. Once your kids start thinking of you as someone who needs protection, that idea sticks. Even if you're fully capable, even if you feel completely fine, even if you can still handle your own responsibilities, once they believe you need to be managed, they won't stop managing you, which is why this is one conversation you should never have. It doesn't make your kids bad people. It just makes them human, because once they see you differently, they won't be able to unsee it. And that's why keeping the secret might be the best thing you ever do. How this can backfire, even with good kids. Let's be clear, this isn't about whether your kids love you. Most of the time, they do. They want what's best for you. They worry about you. They don't want to see you struggle. But here's the problem. Love doesn't always mean understanding. Your kids might love you deeply, but that doesn't mean they truly see you for who you are now. Because in their minds, you're aging. And in today's world, aging is almost always associated with decline. So the moment they think you're struggling, their instinct isn't to let you handle it. Their instinct is to step in, take over, and start making decisions for you. instead of letting you make them yourself. And once that happens, it's hard to undo. What this looks like in real life. It starts with one small comment. You mentioned feeling a little more tired than usual. No big deal, you just had a long week. But your kid's here. Mom's getting weaker. Next thing you know, they're insisting you hire help. You shouldn't be cooking so much. Let's get someone to do your meals. Dad, you shouldn't be living alone. You need someone checking in on you, even though you don't need it. Or maybe you casually bring up that money feels a little tight. Not because you're struggling, just because you're keeping an eye on your expenses, like you always have. But your kid's here. Mom can't handle her finances anymore. And suddenly, they're talking about selling your house. Maybe it's time to downsize. We should talk about moving you somewhere easier to manage, even though you never asked for that conversation. Or maybe you mention a small health issue, a little dizziness, a sore knee, a cough that won't go away. But your kid's here. Dad isn't safe on his own. And next thing you know, they're Googling assisted living options. They're having quiet conversations behind your back. They're making decisions before you even get a say. It happens fast, and it's almost impossible to reverse. At first, it's just concern. But concern quickly turns into intervention. And before you know it, they're checking up on you constantly. They're treating you like you can't be trusted to make your own choices. They're talking about your future, like you're not even in the room. And suddenly, you feel like you've lost control, not because you needed help, but because you said the wrong thing at the wrong time. And they assumed you couldn't handle life anymore. And once they start treating you differently, it's almost impossible to go back. What to do instead? So, what do you do instead of telling your kids you feel like a burden? You take control. Because here's the truth. The moment you give up control, you don't get it back. Your kid will never stop loving you. But once they start seeing you differently, they won't unsee it. So instead of giving them any reason to believe you're declining, you make sure they see you as capable, strong, and independent for as long as possible. Here's how. 1. Keep doing things for yourself whenever possible, even if it takes longer, even if it's frustrating, even if you don't do it as fast as you used to. Because the moment you stop doing something for yourself, your kids will assume you can't do it anymore. And once they take something off your plate, they won't give it back. So whether it's cooking, driving, handling your bills, or fixing something around the house, keep proving to yourself and to them that you're still capable. And if there's something you're struggling with, find a way to make it work before asking for help. If your knees hurt when walking, try using a cane before your kids, suggest a walker. If cooking is getting tiring, prep meals in advance before they insist on a meal service. If driving at night feels unsafe, start using rideshare apps before they take your keys. The more solutions you find on your own, the longer you stay in control of your life. 2. When you need help, ask in a way that doesn't make you seem weak. There's a big difference between saying, "I can't do this anymore. Could you give me a hand with this real quick?" The first one makes them worry about you. The second one keeps things casual, like you just need a little assistance, not a full takeover. Here's another example. Instead of saying, "I don't know how to handle my finances anymore," say, "Hey, I want to double check something on my bank statement. Can you take a quick look with me?" Instead of saying, "I can't figure out this new phone. I guess I'm just too old for this," say, "Can you show me how to set up this one feature? I just need a quick walkthrough." The way you frame your request matters. If you sound like you're losing confidence in yourself, they'll start losing confidence in you, too. But if you make it clear that you're still in control, they won't feel the need to step in and take over. 3. Set boundaries. Your kids mean well, but sometimes their help can start feeling like control. The trick? Push back gently. If they start overstepping, try, "I appreciate the help, but I've got this. I'll let you know if I need anything. I promise. I know you're just looking out for me, but I'm still perfectly capable of handling this myself." The key is to stand your ground without making a fight, because the moment they see hesitation in you, they'll assume you need help, even when you don't. And that's how control slowly slips away. 4. Find other people to lean on. Your kids shouldn't be your only source of support. The more you rely on them, the more they'll feel responsible for you, which means the more they'll start making decisions for you, whether you like it or not. So instead of going to them for every little thing, build a strong support system. Stay connected with friends, neighbors, and community groups. Join activities that keep you engaged and surrounded by people your age. The more independence you maintain outside of your kids, the less they'll feel like they need to manage you, and that keeps the power in your hands. 5. Keep your worries private. Feeling lonely? Feeling like you're slowing down? Feeling like you don't know what the future holds? That's normal. But here's the thing. You don't need to tell your kids everything, because if you do, they'll overreact. Instead of comforting you, they'll look for solutions, even when you don't need one. If you tell them you're feeling lonely, they'll talk about moving you closer. If you tell them you're struggling with stairs, they'll start looking at assisted living options. If you tell them you're feeling overwhelmed, they'll start making decisions for you. And before you know it, you've lost control of a situation you were never asking them to fix. So instead, find a trusted friend to talk to. Join a support group where people understand what you're going through. Write in a journal. Go for walks. Pray. Whatever helps you process your emotions. Because the moment you tell your kids you feel like a burden, they'll start treating you like one. And that's not what you want. Final thoughts. Aging isn't easy. And yes, there will be moments when you do need help. But how you frame it makes all the difference. If you tell your kids you feel like a burden, they'll start treating you like one, even if they don't mean to. But if you show them that you're still strong, capable, and in control, they'll respect you for it. And that's how you keep your independence for as long as possible. So, if you ever felt like your kids are slowly taking over, just remember, you are still you. And as long as you can, you should fight to keep it that way. Now it's your turn. Did this message resonate with you? Have you ever noticed your kids treating you differently as you've gotten older? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Because aging doesn't mean losing control. It just means learning how to keep it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.